Hi, I'm Alexa, and a couple of weeks ago, I saw a video, and I'm genuinely not sure that this wasn't done like sarcastically or something. I'm pretty sure it was meant to be like serious. This person made a video on the one right, correct, true, never do it any other way to eat a croissant. Literally dictating how you eat a croissant. You must do this. You must do this. You should never, ever, ever, ever slice it in half. What? What is wrong? Like, are you really serious? Who cares if someone wants to have a croissant, if they want to tear it, if they want to slice it in half, if they want to make it a sandwich, if they want to put, I don't know, Nutella on it instead of butter? Who cares? Unless they are physically force feeding you something you don't want to eat, leave them to it. Let them enjoy their croissant in peace. Okay? And I was having this discussion with someone today, and they are obviously extremely proud of challenges they've overcome in their life, and it is influencing some of their thoughts and their beliefs. And I'm okay with, like, we all do that. That's exactly who we are, right? We are all an amalgamation of everything that we have been through. And if something was important to us and we're proud of it, it is going to influence how we talk about how others, well, I was able to overcome this, or I was able to make this happen, or I was able to do this. You can do it too. And there's a sort of fine line between encouraging someone to say, hey, you can do this, and saying, if you do this exact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps, then you'll be able to accomplish this. Because not all of us have the same path, right? And not all of those 7 steps might work for the person you're talking to, however many steps you come up with, right? We don't have to follow the exact same line as other people in our journeys in our life. So I kind of tongue-in-cheek titled this The Correct Way, the only right way to do a thing. The only right way to do a thing is the way that works for you, which means it may or may not be the same right way to do it for me to do it, right? Now, I'm not talking about you're building a cabinet and you have to put the pieces together in the right order, right? Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more things like, who cares how you eat the croissant? There are multiple ways for me to drive from my house to a store. I bet you every person who would take the journey would say there's one way to do it, right? Take this road, not this road. That one's too busy. That one has stop signs versus stop lights. Like, so if you get stuck at the stoplight, you wait longer, whereas the 4-way stop, you can go, right? Everyone has their right way to get from point A to B. Now, there are obviously, let's say if you're going from one country to another, there are obviously less roads, especially if it's international. There are maybe less ways to do it, but it's still your choice on which airline you go with. Do you want to take a morning flight or an early evening, or did you want to literally take the midnight red-eye flight? If you know what way you do it. And then when you're traveling, like, what do you travel with? How many suitcases do you take? Do you only take a backpack? Do you have to take an actual big suitcase and check it because you have to bring certain stuff with you? There's no one right way to do stuff. Now, I do think there is a wrong way to do things, and that is to try and force your way of doing it onto other people. And I mean, we literally have laws about this, so I feel like a lot of people do understand it. I feel like a lot of us understand it when it's we're being forced to do something, and then we forget that we might be doing, or we don't realize we might be doing it to other people. I've had a few moments in my life where someone was like, why do you care? Like, what does it matter to you? When I was asking them why they do something and didn't do it a different way. And if you stop and you think about these things, and you stop and you sort of examine yourself a little bit, you'll find that a lot of the things you're saying that have to be done a certain way are driven by one of two things. One, you've just always done it that way. You were taught to do it that way when you were a child, and so you just always do it that way. It's just autopilot. And two, something really emotional, either positive or negative, happened when you did it a certain way. So you're either trying to help someone have that same happy win, or you're trying to help them avoid having the negative consequence. So you don't want them to do what you did. You don't want them to have that same thing. Most of the things we do and say are driven by one of those two things, at least in where I've been sort of examining, watching other people, examining myself. What are those motives? Why do we talk about these things? And even here, I try very hard to give examples of how I've done things, how I think about things, how I approach things. When I'm training someone at work, I say, let's do it the exact way the SOP says, standard operating procedure for those who don't live in SOP world. Let's do it exactly how the steps are written out, just so we make sure we don't miss one. But once you get comfortable with this, some of these steps, as long as you do all of them, they don't have to be done in the exact order we've written them out. We had to write them in an order to put them on the paper, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be done in that exact order. Some things have to be done before others, depending on what you're working on. But you're going to find the way that works for you. I'll show you what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, like, you're going to find your way, right? If it does work for you, great. I'm happy. Fantastic. Have fun, right? I think I wasn't really going to tie this back in, but I'm not happy about the Everton game today. We lost, and we knew it would come. I was hoping it would be a little bit further down the line, but it is what it is. I was thinking about the job of the coach again, and how we, in our individual lives, not even in a job where we're paid to do it, we can take some of the lessons of coaching and apply them in our lives. And one of the biggest things you have to remember as a good coach is it's not about what you say, it's about what they understand. It's about where another person is coming from. I had someone in a conversation reply to me, and it kind of took me aback. It felt like an attack, and it kind of was an attack from reading it. But when I looked at it and took that moment to sort of take a step back, think about where they're coming from, what were they actually trying to convey, it was more, I think they felt attacked and were trying to diffuse or protect themselves. And I don't know if this worked, but the first thing I wrote back was, this is obviously extremely important to you, and you're very proud of what you've done. I understand that. I'm very proud of how hard I've worked. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. I'm very proud of what I've overcome, right? If we can get to that point where we realize that most of us are talking out because we care, and we can listen to that caring side, a lot of these details are irrelevant. Like how you slice your croissant, I don't care. Have you eaten today? Then please eat, right? Like that's more important. Like, what is the bigger issue? If we get so hung up on the little details, if we get so hung up on the proving that I'm right and you're wrong part, that's when communication stops. And I am human. I am entirely human, just like everyone else. I get upset. I get attacked or feeling like I'm attacked. I get emotional. I get worked up. And I am very direct in my communication a lot of the time, which can feel like very simply like, well, just do it this way and get it done. Very maybe abrasive, right? Maybe people find that rude. When we examine the way we are, we can then adjust and examine the people around us. We can adjust our way of doing things. We can adjust our way of talking and hopefully facilitate those conversations a little bit more. So I'm pretty sure I said it earlier, but I titled this one, "The Only Right Way to Do a Thing." The only real right way to do a thing is the one that feels right to you, the one that works for you. Now, we obviously have bigger things we could talk about, like, well, no, there's a legal way of doing it and a moral way of doing things. We do not, in our daily lives, for the majority of the decisions we make, we're not making decisions about whether to do something legally or illegally. We are normally just making a decision on, like, how do you cut a cake? How do you eat your Oreos? How do you take your favorite coffee or tea beverage, right? Like, these things are not the big moral debates. They're not big legal debates. These are just the things we do in our everyday life, day after day after day after day. So what way works for you? If you like to slice your croissant in half and make it into a sandwich, I am here for you. And that video I watched a few weeks ago, they said never cut it. I think they need to take a step back and stop judging other people how they eat their croissants. Because, But you know what? Opinions, we all have one. So take it with a pinch of salt. If you made it this far, thank you so much for being here. Bit of a different kind of idea tonight. I am thinking of doing a live stream on Wednesday after the Derby, and I'm a little worried. So we'll see. No promises. I will do a video on Wednesday. We'll see what happens, but I might do a live stream, and a live reaction after a Derby could be either really good or really bad. If I'll do a live stream, I will post about it. I'll do a post so everyone knows. I'll schedule it ahead of time. And if I don't, then you can expect just a regular video. As always, if you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one. Be kind to yourself.